Hi, for the subject of MMG 3023 Computer Graphics, Chapter 2 Modeling Geometry and Chapter 9 Rendering, this video presents to you one of the published paper in Digital Heritage Congress 2013 and a paper entitled Simulation of Past Life, Controlling Agent Behaviors from the Interactions Between Ethnic Groups as an example of work done in simulating virtual humans and how these virtual humans have their own characteristics and behavior. Before I introduce you to the construction and reconstruction of past life, my first question is, why do we need crowd modeling in digital cultural heritage sites? In order to preserve and commemorate monuments, artifacts, and cultural buildings, most heritage sites such as Angkor Wat, Milani's Palace, and Georgetown are modeled as digital cities. Modeling them without any inhabitants give the users an impression that they are visiting a deserted place. So later, researchers have come up with the ideas of modeling crowd and simulating them in Roman Odeon, virtual Pompeii, and virtual Iman in Hagia Sophia Ottoman Mosque. However, these crowds are modeled homogeneously. Homogeneity here means the quality or the state of being the same, for example, having the same mass and traveling at the same time and speed. The goal here is to reconstruct past life in an ancient trading port in Penang, Malaysia. However, simulating heterogeneous crowd is not easy with different ethnic groups such as the Indian, Malay, English, and Chinese. Hence, the core objective of this research is to extend crowd simulation to multi-ethnic cases and provide a high-level control from interaction between ethnic groups. Since the main objective of this research is to simulate a heterogeneous crowd, and in our case, we have a very good motivation to do so, as we wanted to digitally model the ethnic groups in the 18th. It is also very interesting to model their activities as each of the ethnic groups have their specific occupations. For instance, the English is responsible to oversee the port, the Indian are hired to upload and download the goods in the trading port, and the Chinese traders coming from the sea route, while the Malays are the local vendors who try to sell their goods to other communities. And for the validation of the simulation, we can simply observe the inter-groups interactions through the visual clues based on their traditional clothes. As the challenge here is to model a multi-ethnic groups, we need a new formalization where the interactions can be activated locally and globally. This can be realized through the use of hierarchical state machine. Each group has a set of states, and each states perform a specific behavior. Example is that when the boat is arriving at the pier, the news will be propagated to all the workers. The boat will change from the state of sailing to resting, while the Indian workers who are available at the time will change the state from wandering to reaching boat. The local interactions only take place between specific agents, which result in the changes of states for only particular agents, while the global interactions causes the changes of states for all agents belonging to the targeted population. In order to simulate autonomous behaviors at each state, given a set of combination of steering behaviors, we recomputed the behaviors according to our need. We readopt the particle-based steering behavior algorithms from Craig Renaud and formalize our own animation algorithm that at each time step, we compute a new state from the local and global interactions by assigning the weight to the forces in such that the weight is represented by W, and W for each force is different, that I is from 1 to n. Then we compute a new force based on the summation of the force, that is different weight of the forces multiplied with the combination of steering forces. The proposed leader following algorithm is able to handle some common situation in the trading port. The new leader following behaviors such as negated V-light, line abreast, and river light formation are able to respect the personal space between the leaders and the followers. This formalization basically utilizes what we call the right vector and forward vector for placing the followers. Besides, We would want to find out the reasonable number of followers for the case of social behaviors in this simulation too. Through the multiple waypoints, we also explored the smooth group motion. By using the multiple waypoints, agents can choose their goal based on their current interactions randomly. In this case, the agents are also able to navigate more alternative trajectories and resulted in no deadlock and smoother maneuver. And here's the demonstration of the simulation. Back in the 18th century in wealthy Malaysia, there was a multicultural trading port. In this paper, we present our ongoing development of choreographing the global and local interactions between diversified ethnic groups in a trading port. Each agent is able to exhibit complex interaction with each other and perform appropriate responses based on steering forces. We procedurally generate diverse crowds of different ethnic groups which are simulated and animated using Unity 3D. Parameterized agents are used to adapt the social behaviors of the trading processes, and the global microscopic behavior of a crowd emerges from the local interactions between individuals. We present our examples based on 4 meaningful scenarios. Wandering coolies are aware of the boat arrival. The coolies are rushing towards the pier. The coolies are uploading the goods. The coolies are carrying the goods back to the container. The coolies are queuing to download the goods. When they are not working, the coolies switch back to the wandering behavior. When the boat arrives at the pier, the English are aware of the arrival of their customers. The Chinese traders are exiting from the boat. The English captain brings along some followers to fetch the customer. The English captain discovers the Chinese capitan and they greet each other. One of the Chinese followers is in charge of supervising at the container. Meanwhile, the English are escorting their customers back to the fort. All of the followers are instructed to follow their leaders. Both the Chinese group and the English troop walk along side by side until they reach the fort. After the business at the fort, the Chinese are free to interact. The Chinese are aware that the goods have been all downloaded. They rush to the pier to sail away. There is an interaction between buyer and seller. A vendor provokes the robbery interaction and propagates the message to the police for help. The police chases after the suspicious thief. The thief is caught and being interrogated. The thief is asked to follow the police for further investigation. The police leader commands for other colleagues to help in the escorting. The police troop and the thief are arriving at the prison. Other interactions include lady haggling over the price of goods with vendors. There are arguments between the buyer and sellers. The Chinese is having conversation with the Malay. And the English are also involved in daily activities. As a result, we have successfully modeled and simulated the crowd in the multicultural trading port at the interactive rates of 24 frames per second, with the total numbers of 240 agents in which each of the agents behave heterogeneously in both local and global interactions. As a conclusion, we have achieved multi-ethnic simulation with particle-based technique and applied it in cultural heritage case. As for now, the limitation that we can see is that there's no consideration on the cycle of day and time, and for the optimization of the simulation, we have to minimize the number of loops and handle problems with regards to interfering activities. For the future work, we would like to simulate crowds with semi-global interactions based on distance and extend to a larger population of about 2,000 agents that would give a more realistic representation of the way world key may have looked like. A solution to handle this complexity would be to switch to crowd patches approach. However, modeling different populations that change state over time within this formalization, where local pre-computed simulations are usually played in a loop, would require a new research contribution. That's all, and thank you for your attention.